DHS Secretary Kristi Noem took a jab at California Governor Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass during an appearance on CBS's Face the Nation Sunday. She did so while defending President Trump's deployment of National Guard troops there to quell anti-ICE raids. Let's watch.
I do know that LA wouldn't be standing today if President Trump hadn't taken action. Then that city would have burned down if left to the devices of the mayor and the governor of that state. So many of those homes and businesses that were in downtown LA and in those areas were dealing with riots and violence, and coming in and bringing those federal law enforcement officers in was incredibly important to keeping peace.
She also criticised Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, who ultimately oversees Chicago, another major city where Trump is considering deploying National Guard troops. Take a look at that.
Well, for 13 consecutive years, Chicago had more murders than any other American city. In fact, just last year in 2024, they had 3 times the amount of murders that LA did, 5 times more than New York City. So he can talk about what a great job he's doing as governor, but he's failing those families. This seems like it's more about Governor Pritzker's ego now, rather than actually protecting his people.
The savior of LA.
So
in
ridiculous.
Trump we trust. Look, I will say this. I think that it is not healthy to worship political figures on the level that Donald Trump occasionally, more than occasionally, garners from his supporters and surrogates and people in his administration. I think that would be unhealthy, or was unhealthy when it was Barack Obama, who had, in some cases, a somewhat similar level of reverence, at least at the beginning, from his people. Maybe they soured on him over time. I don't think that's good here. LA would still exist as an organization, certainly, if not for the feds being deployed. And moreover, I like Kristi Noem very much as a governor during COVID for resisting what I thought of as federal tyranny. So it's been a little bit jarring to see her become the most visible face of federal troops being sent everywhere, which is not a policy I necessarily love, although I do certainly want to deter crime in the nation's capital, which at least has a federal connection. I'm much less happy about the prospect of just having a permanent national federal police presence in every city, and I hope we would remember some of our, anti-COVID, anti-lockdown, anti-Patriot Act sort of liberty inclinations.
Well, I'm with you on the liberty part, at least. I found Kristi Noem's statement completely ludicrous. The idea that LA would have burnt to the ground if Trump had not intervened. Just no evidence to support that at all. I would, for what it's worth, dispute that Obama, even in the early days, had the kind of scenario that we saw play out at that Trump cabinet meeting recently.
They gave him a Nobel Peace Prize for nothing.
They gave him a Nobel Peace Prize for bringing hope to the world. but there were not Obama cabinet meetings where people were lining up as if it was some sort of Idi Amin in Uganda kind of situation where people were lining up to pay tribute to him. Just briefly, we don't have a huge amount of time for this segment. The Noem thing is very consistent with what Trump himself does, which is cast things in some ludicrously hyperbolic, dark way, and then claims credit for clearing them up. And we're seeing this in D.C., which he a while ago, just last month, described as under siege from thugs and killers, which is never how I feel like as I'm wandering around the city, and has now declared that it is a crime-free zone, which it also isn't.
Sure, we did have a week free of murders, and that was a good thing. I now have noticed over time, I've noticed the federal troop presence in the city, and things are running a little bit more orderly. It's not a permanent solution, but for the rest of summer, I think crime is down a little bit.
Well, I mean, assaults with a dangerous weapon were up in the first week, even as the murder went down from 2 to 0 and then back up to 1. I think we're seeing very marginal differences for a very big increase in the presence of military on the streets, which I dislike. In any event, President Trump is going to do something that we're going to say in a second. He's going to take aim at voter ID laws and mail-in ballots. Hear what he has to say next. Stick around.